Hi there, on this video we're going to check out one of Designer Eco Tiny Home's solar trailers and how that can be hooked up to a tiny house so you can be off-grid. Alright, so if you're interested, stick with us. We're going to take a little tour. I'm inside at the moment. This is a Graduate Series 6000. It's been custom built for a client who's very much into airplanes and that type of theme. So you'll notice a few unique features in here. Got the exit light behind me here, and above me is the no smoking sign, and of course the toilet also has a vacant sign. It lights up red and green when it's available. So yeah, there's some really cool features. And but this one here, what I wanted to show you today is the solar trailer. Unfortunately it's raining, hence the rain jacket at the moment, so I'm sort of just scoping the time for this storm to pass, but I thought I'd start the video inside and show you that everything runs as per normal, as you would in a normal house. I can show you just briefly here. You've got the air conditioning on at the moment. So the solar trailer is hooked up, so it's supplying 240 volt power through to the tiny house. And yeah, you can run all normal appliances. And I also notice here, as the owner's unpacking, coffee machine is set up as well. So yeah, you can run normal features in this tiny house because of the solar trailer. It does run on 4 solar panels. They're Trina is the brand that we use. They're 330 watt. They're split panels, and we run that through a Victron Easy Solar 3000 with a 48 volt system. So there's 4 12 volt 170 amp hour batteries all joined together to give us the 48 volts, and that gives us about a 4 kilowatt usable hours on the system. So you can use as much power as that provides. With this particular solar trailer, we also supply a generator. There's 2 types of generators that we sell. One is a manual generator, so you have to start that yourself. So you notice if the batteries are low, you go over to the solar trailer and you start the generator yourself. In this case, we're running an automatic generator system. So the system knows when the voltage drops to 47 volts, it will automatically turn on the generator, and it will power up until the batteries reach approximately 80% charge. If it reaches that for about 5 minutes, then it turns itself off. So you can leave the tiny house and it will maintain power as long as you've got fuel in the generator. So if you're experiencing a long period of overcast weather, then you don't have to worry. You're supporting your solar system by that generator system. So it's a bit of a safety net. You can install a larger solar system and it's to not worry about the generator, but that can be very costly. The more solar panels, the larger the trailer, the more batteries you need, and then it's difficult to create the right amount of solar panels on a trailer in order to support the batteries. So what we do is, like, we reduce the scale of the solar panels and the batteries, and we offset it with the generator. Now, if you're not using air conditioning, then I'd suggest you probably don't need the generator. I'd be surprised if you did drop below the power, but of course it depends on how much you use it. But if you're going to run, say, a rental accommodation like this client is, or it's mostly for himself, but if when he's not using it, he will rent it out. And just as a foolproof, in case you get a tenant who runs the air conditioning all through the night on, say, 18 degrees, which that's way too low in my opinion, but we can give you a few tips on that. But if someone does that, and you don't have the generator backup, then it's likely you'll run the batteries to zero, and you can potentially do damage to the batteries. So the generator is a really nice safety net to protect your system. And it's also, yes, if you're in a climate that requires air conditioning, if it's super hot or really, really cold, I tend to suggest air conditioning more just for the hot, because there are alternate off-grid systems that we do use for heating, such as the Truma gas heating system. So that I'd prefer to see that put in an off-grid tiny than an air conditioner. But when it's too hot, there aren't many other options. Of course, the windows and things like that, insulation. But if you just don't have the breeze, and it's 40 degrees outside, that's Celsius, then you're going to want air conditioning. It doesn't really matter who you are. So, and if you're trying to create an off-grid experience for these for tenants, then and it's 40 degrees outside, well, not everyone's going to sign up to that. So having an air conditioner for that is a really good idea. You don't, like I said, you don't need it, but it is certainly a luxury, and we can make that happen now with these solar trailers. Now, in the past, we ran solar power through, like, built into the tiny house, and we can still do that. It's much less common these days because of the generator option. Because the solar trailer is a separate unit and it has that generator component, we can have that solar trailer approximately 50 meters away from the tiny house, so that, because let's be honest, no one wants to hear the noise of a generator. So in this case, and I'll show you the distance, hopefully we may be able to see it through the window. I'll just let me have a look here. A little bit. Yeah, so that's it over there in the corner. The window up here. Show you that, but yeah, actually I'll probably point there. There it is. Ooh, right there. So that's a fair way away. Now, I understand for this spot, like this is a cracking spot. Let me see if I can show you the view. We're in the Manning Valley up near Naviac and Gloucester. So this incredible views across the valley. You can see the rain settled in now, but yeah, it's a really remote place, really remote, and so understandably, the noise you would get from, I'll just adjust that there. Sorry about that. The noise you would hear at night is just going to be animals or birds, those sorts of things. Like, there's going to be very little industrial noise, any city noise. So when you hear that vibration of the generator, it's going to be more distinctive, say, than if you're in the city and things like that. So we are conscious of that, and we do install quite a large generator, and so it will power up those batteries pretty quickly. But I always think if you're going to run air conditioning, then you've got to accept some sort of industrial noise. It's just what it is. You're obviously going to hear the noise of the fan anyway inside the tiny, but of the air conditioner. So I think, well, and if it's that hot, if it's 40 degrees, then you'll just have to tolerate that noise. There's not really much you can do about it. But I do think 50 meters is a pretty good distance, and generally speaking, if you can try and have the generator facing away from the tiny house, the noise should travel away. And I'll show you that if the rain does stop. I would go out. I have my umbrella there. I would go out, but I did see a little bit of lightning before, so the last thing I want to do is get zapped. So yes, you just have to bear with us, but because it is still raining. So but yeah, that's why we want the solar trailer separate from the tiny house, because of that generator component. So like I was saying before, we used to, and we still can, if you'd like, install solar inside the tiny house. So the solar panels are on the roof of the tiny house, and the batteries are stored in, say, one of the cabinets, and we put the inverter maybe tucked away in one of the cabinets or outside in a meter box. When that's the case, you cannot have a built-in automatic generator. You can supply your own generator and run it on a lead and plug it in. We do supply a plug-in power point, but to have the automatic setting and the computer system talking to the inverter and talking to the generator, that has to be pre-wired in. So it's not something we can just then mount on the front drawbar or something like that. Although we could, but that would be no one would want that. No one would want a generator mounted right next to the tiny house. It's just far too noisy. So if you are going to run solar inside the tiny or on the tiny, there's some issues with that, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but you really can't have the generator component. So the reason why we choose to do a trailer is simply so that we can have the generator component, and that almost makes it a foolproof system. Of course, you have to make sure there's fuel in the generator, but generally speaking, you really shouldn't have to use the generator too much. So last night I slept here and tested it out, and it was quite a warm day yesterday afternoon, and I arrived quite late, so the sun was down, and so I had to start the air conditioner because I want to run the test of how much energy it would use. I had to start that in the evening, so there was no sun supporting the system, so I was purely pulling energy from the battery bank. Now when I turned it on, the owner had it on the setting of 18 degrees, which I quickly adjusted up to 23. 18 degrees is too low. You can do it, but you are going to just have that air conditioning working way too hard and using a lot of extra energy. 23 degrees is quite a pleasant temperature, and it's a really good energy level for the air conditioner to use. So if you can start thinking about what temperature you're setting these to, because the reality is a tiny house is a very small space and it's really well insulated, so it doesn't take long for the air conditioner to actually change the climate inside to the point where it's pleasant and that you can even turn it off. So I probably started the system around 8:30, 9 o'clock, and just at bedtime, say a little bit past 10, I actually felt that the tiny house was quite cool enough that I had to have a blanket on, and I thought, yeah, well that's enough, and off went the air conditioner. Now this morning when I looked at the voltage, when I got here it was 51.2 volts. This morning it was 51 volts. So we're talking almost like it's minimal drop. It's a minimal drop. So they're very, very efficient systems. If you happen to run that all night on 18 degrees, the generator would have turned on for sure. I guarantee that. Like it's just unsupported by the sun, and the reason why we run these smaller battery banks, obviously to keep the cost down, because that's a very expensive component, and that's why the generator is there to support that battery bank. So I didn't need it myself. Maybe if my wife was here, she absolutely loves air conditioning, and there's every chance, it would have been blowing all night then, but it depends on your person. If you're going to go off-grid, you've got to understand things have to change. You're not in the city anymore. You can't just assume you can run everything as per normal. You have to learn how to deal with the energy that you create yourself. Essentially, you've got your own power plant here on site, and you need to learn to manage that. So I think that the solar trailer does that fine. We do custom make them, and we've made a bigger one. We've made one with 9 panels. So that was an enormous array of solar. I can't imagine ever that the generator would turn on, but it is there as just in case. Now, when you've got a solar trailer, it's important though, with having the generator, it's like any motor, it's important to turn it over. So even if you're not going to use it, it's worth doing once a week, just overriding the computer system and turning it on. It's just a simple press button. There's no pulling it like an old lawnmower. It's nothing like that. You just simply press the green button for it to turn on, run it for 5 to 10 minutes, and then simply turn it off again. And that just keeps the fuel in the line and nice and clean, the oil turning over, and just making sure the system's running fine. So that's something I'd recommend you do. The solar trailer does come with an owner's manual, and you'll see that with the main components obviously being the inverter, which is a Victron inverter, and that pretty much runs through an app that you can download for free online called Victron Connect, and you can run it through your smartphone. It's Bluetooth connected. You can monitor the use of your power every day, also how much sun and how much energy is in each battery. Then there's the battery component. Pretty much don't touch that, it does its own thing. And then there's the generator. The generator is a Pramac, and it runs with a Honda 4-stroke motor. So it's important after about 20 hours of use that you change the oil on that, and it's all in the manual of how to do that. Change the oil, and then probably after that every 6 months, just make sure you're topping up the, make sure you're checking the oil levels and just making sure the fuel's in it. So that if you do go away for a period of time and you leave your fridge on, or you leave the system running, and you just do get an enormous stretch of overcast weather, just to make sure that generator's there ready to go. Or if a friend of yours borrows it for the weekend, and like I said, they're used to the city and they're used to having permanent power, and they just blast the air conditioner all day long. So that's why it's there, to support that. Now, unfortunately, the rain has started kicking even more, so I'm not sure I'm going to be able to show you outside, but I might be able to cut in a video to show you. But it's, like I said, I don't want to risk the lightning. But let's just have a look out the window here. Not too bad, I guess. I haven't heard any lightning for a while, so maybe we'll just take it. I'll just put my shoes on. So if you bear with me, I'll put my shoes on and get the raincoat on and the umbrella, and we might just go check it out, because I think it'll be really good for you to see the actual solar trailer and the individual components of it. And you can see how that, yeah, it's something that we can easily hook up. So let me just spin this camera around. Hopefully that's loud. Yeah. Trusty thongs. Yeah, it's a really special tiny house, this one. It's just in a magic spot. Yeah, some incredible views. If you can believe it, a bushfire didn't come. It came through here not that long ago. A grass fire came through. There was nothing left. It was all bare. And the beauty of the Australian bush, it grows back so quickly. We experienced a huge fire, and then a few weeks later we had absolutely torrential rain. So that's what we're experiencing right now. But let me just head on over to this trailer. See my the car I brought it in. I have another one that we're dropping off. This is the one that's on site. So as you can see, it's a pretty good distance. It's a pretty good distance. Now we can actually go further if you needed, and you can certainly let us know if you need a further distance. We just have to custom make a cable that will suit. We have to increase the thickness of the cable so we don't get any voltage drop. So here's the solar trailer, here's the panels. Here are the 4 panels. You can see the four legs in the corners. The owner's put down some concrete pad footings and we've dynabolted it down. We've also got some additional straps on the south side, just for some extra support. You can never be too careful. So that's the feed-in cable. You'll see the system is on, and that there is the 240 volt power that's being generated. We've got our battery bank. try and set up this. There we go. And here is the system. So we run a Victron Easy Solar, 48 volts, with a 3000 watt inverter. So in other words, you can run anything up to 3000 watts of power. And here is the screen. It's obviously not happy on my screen, but yeah, there we go. So right now, even though it's you'll see here total overcast. So the PV, the charge, that's showing absolutely zero. No sun. The tiny house right now, that's probably just the fridge running there. Maybe the light. I think there was at least a couple of lights on, and probably the fan for the compost toilet system. So that's yeah, I'd say that's the fridge, a little bit of lights, and the fan. And then you've got that's the state of the battery charge. Hang on a sec, try and focus. Yeah. Yeah. So a full battery. Oh, that's definitely the fridge. So you can see there the fridge compressor is kicked in. That's why you're seeing that spike. And you can see here. So we're running a 48 volt system. Now, a fully charged 12 volt battery, to give an example, is 12.8 volts. 12.8 volts. So a 48 volt system, when that's fully charged, it's just 12.8 times 4. And the generator is showing nothing. So let me just do that calculation in my head. It's so what's that? 8, 4, 32. So it's 51.2 volts. So it's not far off fully charged. And with this system, like I said, we have it set so that if it gets to 47 volts, then the generator will turn on. So if you're on a 12 volt battery, empty is about 11.5 volts. 11.5 volts, and half full is 12 volts. So that's 48 volts, and full, like I said, 12.8 volts. So that's how we monitor it. So there's just a couple other little things I just want to show you while we're here. It's hard to see, but we've got our earthing stake. Yeah, it's a mandatory requirement that gets driven into the ground. It's about 1200 millimeters long, or 1.2 meters, and you just drive it down as far as you can, and that makes it a secure system. There's the batteries, the 4 batteries. And we come to the back here. This is the Pramac S5000. This is the it's a Honda generator with the Pramac computer system. So this is essentially the system that talks to the Victron. This is the connection cable here, which runs up and along to this computer system. So this is the automatic starting component. Now, the middle button, black, that means it's on automatic setting. Now, if I want that off, you can turn that off. And if I wanted to do, say, for example, a service start, just to give it a turnover once a week, you simply just press the green button. So that's the system running there, and you can see it's a little bit loud here, but I'm curious if, while it's running and just running a test, we might just head back to the tiny house. We've only just installed this one, And you'll notice we also do decking, and that's something I'll show you as we go back. So I'd say we're about halfway back between the tiny house and the solar trailer with the generator running, and it's getting less and less. The noise is less and less. In fact, I'd say the noise of the rain on my umbrella is louder at the moment. Yeah, and while we're here, there's the decking that we can do. We make it in module, so it's 3 components for this size tiny. We deliver that to site and join it together. Now I'm at the furthest most point of the tiny house, but I am outside, and I'll just might stop talking for a bit to see if you can just hear the generator on the computer. Okay, so I can hear. I don't know what it's like on the computer, but it's just a light sort of, hum. Now I'll go back into the tiny house just quickly. And close the door. Now I don't know if you can. I'll just put you back up here on the stand. Actually, now that I can see, I've actually got the air conditioning on, so I forgot to tell I was running a test. So that power that we saw, that voltage, that would have been the air conditioner turning on. My bad. So probably not the fridge. So yeah, I can't hear any. I can't hear any sort of noise. I'll turn the air conditioner off, and as you'll see, this is the setting. Well, it's probably backwards, but 23. 23 is definitely what you've got to start learning to love. But like I said, you can go down to 18, but it's not desirable. The system will run it, but you may hear the generator more often than you'd hope. That's all. So I'll just turn this off now, and because I just want to see if we can hear. Just want to see if we can hear the generator. Now this is daytime, so things, like I said, there's more background noise, although we are in an extremely remote area. And I heard a little bit of thunder. Maybe a fraction, But say, for example, if you were here by yourself reading a book, I think you would definitely say, yes, I can hear the generator. It's almost like, say, someone down the street mowing their lawn. Very minor sound. I don't know what else you can do. You either have no generator, then I wouldn't run air conditioning, and or get an even bigger system, but it then becomes a lot more expensive. But what do you do when you get overcast weather like we've got today? As you saw, there's zero watts coming through that cloud cover, so there's no sun. We're getting nothing from the sun today, and that will change as the weather moves through. You don't need a little patch of sun and light, so it's over the course of a day. Generally, it should recharge, but yeah, everything counts, and like I said, you don't want to let your batteries drop too low, otherwise then you can do damage to the batteries. So, in my view, being out here, and if I was with somebody having a conversation, possibly watching some TV, then I think you could assume that there's no noise. Now that's different for everybody's setup. In this case, the solar trailer is facing away from us, so the generator noise is pushing away from the tiny house. That's something I think you should think about in the planning stage. Is that where you're going to put this solar trailer if you're looking to go off grid? Of course, you can build your own solar systems. We're not against that. People can do whatever they like. But if you would like us to build it for you, we believe the solar trailer is the best idea. Now, one of the reasons which I touched on earlier, I was going to talk to you about, why do I prefer having a solar trailer with a backup generator versus the old system we used to run, and we still do for some people, and that's having the solar panels and the solar system built onto the tiny house? Well, to me, the number one problem is generally people's view. So in this case, the view is to our right here, and we're looking down and over the valley. Now that's north, say, north-northeast. The problem with the roof on this tiny house, it's facing east, southeast. So if I had to put your solar system on the east-southeast side of the tiny house, the efficiency drops dramatically, and you won't get the charge. You just simply won't get the charge. And we often get the issue where an owner puts it on the roof and they move it to their spot and they have to remove, or they originally thought they'd like it here, but then they put it there because it looked better, it was a better view once they got to site, and it's either partially shaded by trees, or it's, like I said, it's not facing the correct direction. With the solar trailer, you can move it and maneuver it to be perfect, the perfect orientation, and you can also change the direction. If you feel like in summer you have a better location than the winter, you can change between the two seasons. You can change it during the day if you want to spin it. There's a lot more versatility with having a solar trailer versus having it built into the tiny house. But if you know definitively that you're going to have a north-facing roof, then you can definitely put the solar panels on the roof. Some people choose to run their tiny house facing east-west, and so we run the solar panels both sides, and we split the system. We run two charge controllers to deal with that. So there's a lot of things we can do, but you'd never get the generator component that's automatic. So you can run a manual system, like I said before. Anyone can run a manual generator into a tiny house and top it up that way. But if you're looking for something a little bit more deluxe, where if you're in the middle of the night and you're running the air conditioning at 18 degrees, which is what you really like, and all night long, and you don't want to wreck your battery system, the generator will turn itself on, and away you go. So that's the benefit of the solar trailer versus building in. And it's also something that you can move. You can move much easier. You can clean it a lot easier. So say, for example, what we've experienced in Australia these last few months, a lot of dust storms. There's been an extreme drought, and we've seen a lot of dust coming through to the city or through from out west, and people's cars and roofs are just being covered in like a red dirt. Now, if that's on your roof of your tiny house, on your solar system, you've got to get up on the roof and clean it off. With a solar trailer, you just take yourself a wipe, like a little bit of water and a rag, and it's all from ground level, no ladders required, and you can wipe it off. So you can guarantee maximum efficiency of your panels for a much longer period of time, and you can manage it much better that way. So yeah, just another good example why I think a solar trailer is a good idea. Well, that's it for me today. I've showed you the tiny house. It's been running air conditioning. We've been running the generator now. As I've been talking, I'd be surprised if you could hear it. It is there, and it's a great little system. It's definitely worth adding if you're thinking about going off-grid for your tiny house and you don't want to pay huge money to have mains power run from the grid, and you're thinking about making that conscious decision to actually generate your own energy through solar. Obviously it is supported by a generator, but I think that's a really good, smart addition. You don't have to have it, but I would if I was you. Anyway, if you got any more questions, you can actually call our office or visit our workshop. We're in Ulladulla on the south coast of New South Wales, or you can check out our website. It's designerecotinyhomes.com.au. My name's Grant Eamons. I'm the owner of this business, and it's been a pleasure having you watching us today. If you like what you've seen, definitely click and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are looking at doing some more this year, so hope to see you again real soon. Thanks.